Hello, welcome to my next video in my series about the Dark Eye core rules, and this video is about the spells. I'm going through the list of spells and I have no idea if I can squeeze all the spells in one video, but I try. And I'm going to talk about the first spell in detail so you have an idea how a description of the spell is structured and what is written down here, and all the other spells will only be described in general. It will only give a general description how they work and not explain the mechanics. So the first spell is Eagle Eye. It simply improves your perception, and the first section that's written here, the first paragraph, gives this general description without the mechanic. It says it improves your perception. And gives some background information that it is an elven spell. Then you have the test you have to roll, and the next says how it actually works, what the mechanic behind this. And in this case, you would get quality level +3 on your skill value in perception. So you can get up to additional 9 points of perception. And then it says how long it takes to cast the spell. That is usually a certain amount of actions, where it can be 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 or 32 actions for any spell. Then you have how much it costs to cast the spell. There are different ways to calculate this. For example, this says is a spell you have to pay upkeep for. You can cast this spell for a certain time, but you have to upkeep it. So after the time runs out, you can decide, do I want to invest more astral energy points to keep the spell up and keep my perception up. And it's usually like this example, you have to pay 4 astral energy points just to activate the spell, and then you have to pay 2 astral energy points for 5 minutes. So in the basic case, you would only pay, or when you cast it, you would only pay 6 astral energy points, 4 to activate it and 2 for the first 5 minutes. And after 5 minutes, you can decide, yeah, I'm going to pay another 2 to keep my perception up. Then you have the range of the spell, how far you can cast it. This is a special spell. You can cast it only on yourself, and there's no way to modify the range of this spell. If you remember, you can modify the range of the spell. You can double the range it has. If it has a range of 4 meters, you can improve it to 8 meters, or from 8 to 16. And in this case, if a spell can only be cast on yourself, you cannot change the range. Like, for example, in theory, you could, the lowest range is touch, so you could increase the range from yourself to touching someone, but that is not possible according to the rules. Then it explains how long the spell lasts, and in this case it doesn't give you a number of minutes or something. It just says you have to upkeep the spell, like I just explained. Every 5 minutes you have to pay 2 astral energy points to keep the spell up for another 5 minutes. And then it says on who you can cast this spell, and it simply says on a creature. So you have to be a creature to cast this on you, and you cannot be a stone, which is, yeah, pretty obvious. And in case of a hero, always given, you always some kind of creature. Then the class of the spell, it's a healing spell, and then if it is a spell who that is known to which tradition. In this case, it is an elven spell. There could also be listed more than one tradition. It could be elven and a witch spell. That's also possible. And then there is a possibility that this is a general spell that is known to all traditions. and even to the ones that are not in the core rules. And then it tells you the column it is advanced with, how you level it up, how much it costs to level the spell skill up. And every spell is basically described like this, with all these informations. But this was just as an example. I'm not going through all the other spells in this detail. The next spells I'm going to tell you about will just be explained in how they generally work. And the next one is Analyse Arkanstruktur, which lets you analyze a magical object or a magical artifact or a magical creature or something. So you can know how this artifact works or something like that. Actually, the Analyse Arkanstruktur does not tell you this. It only allows you to see all the structures of the spells that are cast into it, and you still have to make a lore check, a magical lore check, to see if you know how to interpret these structures. But the Analyse Arkanstruktur is the basis for such an analysis, because only the magical lore will get you nowhere, because you don't know what structures are in there, what spells. You have to look into the structure, and then your magical lore will tell you what these structures mean, and if you know the spells that are in there and stuff like that. The next spell is the Armor Trutz. It simply raises your armor value. Then we have Acceleratus. It makes you a lot faster. You run faster, and it also gives you an advantage in combat, in close combat. Then we have Balsam Salabunde. This was called Balm of Healing, I remember, in Drakensang. It's a healing spell. You can give someone your astral energy as hit points back. Then Banbaladin. This makes someone your friend, or makes someone like you more. If he already hated you, you may only end up with someone who is neutral towards you and doesn't no longer want to kill you. But if someone already is neutral towards you, he may end up to be your best friend and trust you with everything. The person is not under your control. It is just like a very good friend, and usually you cannot send it into death or something. But the person will trust you and give you information, and you can ask to do a favor or something like that. Then it's simply mind reading. You simply can read what the person is thinking currently at the moment. Then Blitz dich Find. It creates a flash in the mind of a person, and it irritates that person. So it will get penalties on everything it does while it is basically blinded. Corpo Fresso. Corpo Fresso creates pain in someone without hurting the person. It is a combat spell that is meant to not hurt someone, but take someone down. You can give someone, depending on how good you are with the spell and how good you cast the spell, your spell roll was, your spell test was, you can make someone completely incapable to act, or you simply give them certain levels of pain which will reduce their ability to act, which will give them a penalty on all tests. Then the Disruptivo. Disruptivo is an anti-magic spell, and it makes casting spells in your presence more difficult. Then we have Duplicatus. Duplicatus is basically what you see up here. You create an illusion of yourself that looks exactly like you, and the illusion is constantly melting with you and parting with you, and it irritates your opponents in combat, so they have a chance of 50% to strike the illusion instead of you. And you can create up to 4 illusions of yourself, so you would be left with a 20% chance that you get hit. The next spell is Falcon Eye. It raises your ranged combat value. And Flimflam is the spell you see over here. You can create a ball of light over your hand to use instead of a torch or something, just to make some light. Fulminictus is a combat spell. It does damage that goes right through armor. It is not stopped by armor, and it causes a lot of internal injuries in someone, or small injuries. It doesn't really hit you hard in a specific spot. It creates a lot of internal injury. Guardianum is a protection spell. It protects from damage spells. It creates a sphere around you that absorbs damage, but only damage from spells. You can walk through this, you can shoot arrows through this, you can go through it and attack you in any way, but if someone casting a damage spell like the Fulminictus or shooting a fireball at you, it will basically be, the damage will be absorbed by the sphere, and the sphere can only take so much damage. If it is down to 0 damage it can take, or down to 0 hit points, it will collapse. And if someone is inside the sphere, the person can also use damage spells against you, because they don't have to cross the sphere. But everybody else who is inside you with the sphere is also protected from the spells from outside. Great Greed makes you want something very much, or you cast it on someone and that person will want something very much. You say, what you really need now is a horse, and then that person will forget everything else and try to get a horse no matter what. It will not go into death for a horse, but it will try everything in this moment to get a horse and forget about everything else. You could also ask the person to take a bath or something. What you now really need is a bath, and then that person will go somewhere and take a bath. Harmlose Gestalt is basically what you see up here. You try to appear as someone or something harmless. You cannot really choose as what you appear, but someone who is looking at you will see something harmless, like a little child instead of you, or someone of his own kind he doesn't consider as harmful. Then we have Hexengalle. This is a witch spell, and it basically lets the witch spit acid at you. It will spit at you, and what she spits is acid with all the results of acid. It will damage you, it will damage what the spit lands on, and yeah, that's basically it. Then another witch spell is Hexenkralle. It turns the fingers of someone into claws, and in close combat this can do really a lot of damage. Then the Horyphobos. Horyphobos makes everybody who sees you fear you. It gives observers a certain level of fear, and in the worst case they will, or in the best case for you, they will flee from you and be unable to attack you. Ignifaxius is the spell you see up here. You are shooting fire at someone. It is not a fireball or a fire dart you're shooting. It is a lance of fire that goes from your hand to the target, and it can be blocked, and it has all the, when someone is hit, the person or whatever you hit may be set on fire and burn and take further damage. Invocatio Minima, I've already talked about this. This is the spell with which you summon something from the 7th sphere, something demonic like a bit of slime or poisonous gas or something like that. You cannot choose what you get something, and I explained this was a ritual. It is not, I was simply wrong. It is a spell. Then Cat Eyes. Cat Eyes is a spell that gives you the sight of a cat, basically. You can see in dark, you can see in the night. Next is Toad Jump. Toad Jump just lets you jump very far or jump very high without taking any you don't have to run first you can just stand somewhere and immediately jump very high or jump very far. And I think I'll end this video at this point and make a second video about the rest. So if you have any questions so far, please feel free to ask, to comment, and I'll try to answer that. And this is, I guess, the first half of the spells, maybe a bit more, but I'll make a cut here and make a second video. So bye.